Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montavilla Sewing Center, and today we're going to talk about sewing on vinyl and leather. Now, leather is, if you make a mistake with leather, you just got to start over again, and leather is expensive. So I'm going to talk about sewing on vinyl, but a lot of the same things apply. So you have two main considerations when you're sewing on vinyl and leather. First of all, pinholes will show. So I've got some vinyl-backed fabric here, and if you poke a hole in there, that hole's going to stay there forever. So if you're going to pin, you need to make sure and pin inside the seam allowance, kind of like this, and then I would sew parallel to that on the seam line. Also, you need to have longer stitch length, and I'll give you an example. If you use a shorter stitch length, see what happens. Your vinyl or leather could just tear right along there, because those, as I showed you before, those needle holes are permanent. So you want a longer stitch length, more like this. Now I've lengthened the stitch on this Viking machine up to 4, and that's how long these are. This is a lot, for those needle holes are a lot further away, so it's not nearly as likely to tear. So, but another thing that could happen is as you're sewing, the bottom of the presser foot tends to get stuck on this really slick vinyl, and even on this, it tends to get stuck, which can, even if you have long stitch length, it can tend to make your stitches shorter because it has a harder time feeding through. Also, your feed dogs might catch the bottom edge and push the top edge forward. And I'll show you an example of that. If you look at this, you can see how the fabric looks a little twisted. That's because the presser foot just pushed that top edge forward. Now this happens to be like rainwear fabric that has a coating on it that's supposed to be waterproof. Now on this side, I used a walking foot on this machine, and actually this helps as this goes down and the needle comes up, it actually pushes the presser foot away from the fabric, and then the little feet move along as the feed dogs are moving forward. So you can see a walking foot is going to help quite a bit. The problem with a walking foot is that you may end up getting marks on your really shiny vinyl like this. So there are other ways to handle that. One of them is to use a roller foot. Now this is the kind of roller foot that's specifically made for this kind of machine. It's a Viking roller foot. I'm going to put that right on there like that. Snaps right on. Now there is also a Teflon coated foot, and that's pretty nice also for going across vinyl and leather. Usually the more matte type vinyl is pretty good for that. And this is a foot that actually comes with this machine. Also with this machine, you have these little stickers, and I'll show you what they look like individually. This is what you could put on the bottom of your regular foot. Say you had a zipper foot or a specialty foot, and it helps it glide. So the little yellow part comes off, and you stick it on the foot to help it glide. But I found there's also another thing that you can do, and that's to use tissue paper. Now this is tissue paper left over from a pattern, so it's the same kind of thing. It tears away easily. And I'll show you an example of that. So here what I did is I sewed the seam using a long stitch length, and then I did a top stitching with the pattern paper on there. And see, that just tears away really nicely. And the pattern paper was between the foot and the vinyl. And so that helps keep it from sticking. Now if you have vinyl on the other side, you can use tissue paper on both the top and on the feed dog side, and I've used it quite successfully that way before. So for pinning, if you don't want to pin, you can also use Wonder Tape between the two layers. That works pretty well to hold the two layers together. There's also, here's the kind of vinyl that we often see, this thicker vinyl. Look on the back. It has bonded to it a sort of a knit fabric, which makes it really nice. If you're sewing right sides together, the sticky sides together, then you've got this nice smooth side, both on the top and bottom, and so you can use your regular foot for that. But what about the edges? Now, this is what I've done on the edges. Bias tape, you'll often see that, especially in applications where they've used clear vinyl. Bias tape is a great way to finish that edge because you're actually sewing on the fabric of the bias, not on the sticky part of the vinyl. And when I did that, I moved my needle over to the left, and here's how I can do that. So watch over here, needle to the left, and that way I'm sewing with the presser foot mostly on the fabric. Okay, now what about zippers? Glad you asked. So this is an example of how I put a zipper in. I started out by finishing both of my edges of the vinyl with bias tape, and then I put the zipper underneath that, putting it using the Wash Away Wonder tape right underneath on the zipper tape, and it kept everything in place. No pins necessary. I still used a long stitch length. That's important. Even though I'm sewing on the bias tape, I'm sewing through vinyl, so I need to make sure my stitch length is nice and long to help keep the vinyl from tearing. So this is how you can put a zipper in vinyl. Okay, well, that's my way of helping conquer the monster of vinyl, and you can make some wonderful things with vinyl. You can make seat covers, you can make purses, you can even make fringe that you put along a jacket or something. Vinyl and leather can both be wonderful additions to your sewing. So I hope you found this to be a helpful video. If you have, give us a thumbs up. If you have comments or questions, you can leave those in the area down below. We have lots of other videos on different things like this machine and on other procedures here on our Montavilla YouTube channel. So keep watching, and thanks for watching today. Bye-bye.